Assalamualaikum everyone. Welcome to Coffee with Ustaz. I'm your host Indra Sahip.
I'm your host Mubarak Shah.
Welcome to another great episode of Coffee with Ustaz. How are you, brother?
Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah. Very well, very well.
MashaAllah. And for those who are viewing this content and listening to our podcast, please do not forget to like and share this podcast. And for those who also appreciate our podcast and our content that we post week in and week out, you can show your appreciation to us by buying us coffee, inshallah. And the link is right below at www.buymeacoffee.com/snmtv. So, inshallah, without further ado, allow me to introduce our beloved Ustaz, Ustaz Anwar Hussain. Ahlan wa sahlan ya Ustaz.
Ahlan wa sahlan. Jazakumullah khair.
MashaAllah. How are you, Ustaz, feeling today?
Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, Ustaz, for coming down. We know that you're a very busy man.
Yeah.
MashaAllah.
Yeah. Very, very busy.
MashaAllah.
We are also very busy also.
Yeah, we busy with all kind of other stuff.
Yeah, we're also very busy. We're doing many other busy things.
But busy can, bro. Don't
Don't
busy body. Don't busy body.
Yeah. Some people busy, they are too busy body.
Yeah,
This is the problem.
don't put your nose on people's affairs, okay?
Yeah. That's why all people say busy is good.
Yeah, true. I agree with you, bro.
Yeah.
So, inshallah, today, in fact, this podcast episode, we're going to go into hukum akal.
Yep.
In fact, in translation, it would mean rational laws, right? In the aspect of Islam. So, when we talk about rationality,
So akal is like rationality, yeah.
rationality lah, right? Or akal itself, if we translate into English, is intellect, right? So, but how do you define intellect? Because the Eastern scholars, they have their own terminology on intellect, their own definition of intellect.
Yep.
How
What
do
is intellect? What is akal? Yep.
And what is the thought process of intellect? Definitely, we want to discuss in this episode, inshallah.
Yeah.
But for me myself, I think to say that you are a very intellectual person, right, is a very big statement to give towards yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Do you think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
For sure that I think
people nowadays,
whoever calls themselves intellectual quite a problem actually. You know, like you start self-declaring I'm an intellectual person. Oh my god.
yeah. Again, how do you define that person is intellectual, right?
Yeah. Because you know the thing is we are all like all of us have intellect, but not all of us are rational. You know.
Yeah, true, bro.
Even
True.
we
Yeah.
do irrational things. You know.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So like what is all this about?
Yes, correct. So I think inshallah we will get the guidance of Al-Fadhil Al-Mukarram Ustaz. Maybe we want to start off with how and what is intellect?
What is akal also?
Yeah, how do we define intellect before we go into rational laws?
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. When it comes to the intellectual any aspect of human beings, we find, for example, in the Quran, Allah speaks about the creation of Nabi Adam alayhi salam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded the angels to make sujood and to prostrate to Adam alayhi salam. And before that, Allah informed the angels that He's going to create the Khalifa, this ambassador that is going to execute the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the angels mention to Allah, how can you create someone who is going to cause any bloodshed and all these things. I think we mentioned also some aspects in our first or second podcast when we speak about Khilafah and the honor of human beings. The verse in Surah Al-Baqarah goes on to speak about the speciality of human beings. That human beings, Allah honor human beings, and one of the main reasons is that human beings possess the intellectual capacity. That human beings possess this al-aql. That he is able to think, that he is able to execute the commandments of Allah, that he is able to comprehend and to memorize things and so on and so forth. So this is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا ثم عرضهم على الملائكة فقال أنبئوني بأسماء هؤلاء إن كنتم صادقين قالوا سبحانك لا علم لنا إنك إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. So the angels and they mentioned, "Oh Allah, we do not know anything except that what you have taught us." And then Allah mentioned, "Ya Adam, ambihum bi asma'i haula." Ya Adam, yani Allah said, yani, "Oh Adam, inform them any about those names." So here any our scholars and he mentioned that this is any the speciality any of having any this intellectuality or this intellectual any capacity any within human beings, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed in human beings. And by this aspect any of possessing any this intellect, there comes any to honor any of human beings. So for example, when we define any human beings and we say human beings is hayawan natiq, that human beings any is a being and he is natiq. The meaning any of natiq is mufakkir, that he is able any to use any his intellect any to think.
Okay.
So we need any to understand that this is any the speciality that Allah gave human beings, which Allah did not give any to the other creations. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks any about the role any human beings, as far as human beings can perform the obligations and obey the commandments any of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and using any that intellect that Allah has bestowed any upon him, that will be any the reason that Allah will elevate any his station. This is where Allah mentioned in the Quran, وَالتِّينِ وَالزَّيْتُونِ وَطُورِ سِينِينَ وَهَذَا الْبَلَدِ الْأَمِينَ لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ, that we have created any human beings in the best in their forms. ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ السَّافِلِينَ. Allah created human beings in the best of forms. If human beings any use any this opportunity and this privilege and honor that Allah gave him to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, using any the intellect any as a tool to the obedience any of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will elevate him. ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ السَّافِلِينَ. But if he doesn't obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and perform any prohibitions, then he will be the lowest any of the low. So basically the Quran is telling us that by the virtue any of our intellectual any capacity, this is an opportunity any for us to be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be close into our maker.
To use the intellect for benefit.
Yes. So the intellect any is basically any is a tool. Our scholars any define the intellect as sigun ruhani. Qadhafallahu fi qalbil insan. That it is any what you call it, the a spiritual and secret which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala place any in the hearts any of men.
Ustaz, I got a question, Ustaz. Because you mentioned just now, you mentioned Haiwan Nakliya, right? Natiq. Yeah, so which is like translate a rational animal?
Yeah, you see...
Because Haiwan is animal, right?
Yeah.
In the Organon, and translation of the Organon, Aristotle, you will find that that when it was translated into Greek, they translate any as the rational animal. They translate any as
rational
animal. And this is any interesting. But in the Islamic in the tradition, usually we do not translate it as such. We try to avoid the word animal.
I see.
But the Westerners, they got no problem with that. They say that human beings and he is an animal, but a rational one. But you see, if you go back to the Arabic, the Arabic term, the term is hayawan. Hayawan actually it means a living being. But in Malay, hayawan meaning animal.
Yeah.
Hayawan meaning animal.
Yeah.
And ajib, and even in English, they use the word animal. So, for example, in Malay, when we say someone is hayawan, people will understand that you are
an animal,
saying that he is an animal, that this is something that is disrespectful. People will not like it, and if you say
correct.
antal hayawan.
But
But even
There is disrespectful.
yeah.
but even the Arabs also, if you say to an Arab, for example, antal hayawan, and he'll be angry. He straight away he will think that you are trying to belittle him or criticize him, or saying he's like the animals. But actually, the translation of hayawan is a living being. So human beings are living beings, just like animals are living beings. So our definition is hayawan natiq, al hayawan an natiq. So we are a living being, but the difference between us and other living beings is natiqiyya. In Mantiq we call it this al-fasl. whenever you have any definition and you start any universals. Yani you say hayawan, yani it consists of many living beings, and then you must put yani a differentiation. We call it the differentia. Yani in English, to differentiate what is the difference between this being and the other beings.
Okay.
So the difference is natiqiyah, that we are rational, that we possess any rationality, we possess any the intellectual capacity, which the other beings do not, possess.
Just to expound on that, so that everybody maybe can understand a bit, maybe can help us understand lah. It's like, what is the difference between, for example, a dog, for example, choosing to make a decision, versus a human being making a decision? Like what is the options that the intellect gives to the human being that the dog doesn't have, example?
Yeah, the animals they possess some level of understanding, or some level of intellect, but this is a minimum. This is minimum in the sense that animals their level of intellect is very limited. Limited to certain things, limited to survival, limited to what you call it, understanding what is the kind of foods that he wants to consume, or what are the type of drinks that he wants to consume, what are the type that he doesn't want to consume, what are the type that is poisonous for him. So animals has a level of this differentiation factor. But in comparison to human beings, is another level. That human beings is able to understand the characteristics of things, the properties of things, and is able to understand the relation between things, and is able to deduce conclusions from propositions and names of things. So for example, in logic we study syllogism, that when you have propositions, that you are able to deduce the conclusion. So this kind of level of intellectual understanding is present in human beings and not in the animals. So the animals Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them, but it is a limited what you call it, a understanding, or limited level of intellect. So even angels what possess any intellect. Angels possess intellects. For example, in the Quran, when they got to know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to create a creation from clay. So he said, وَنَحْنُ نُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِكَ وَنُقَدِّسُ لَكَ, that we are better in the sense that we always can make tasbih to you, Allah. Why you want to create any? Meaning they possess this level of intellect. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, Inni a'lamu ma la ta'lamun, I know what you do not know. When Allah commanded Adam alayhi salam to tell the angels knew that they do not possess that level of the intellect that human beings possess. So this is some many aspects of the difference human beings possess the more complex understanding.
I think, Ustaz, allow me, Ustaz, I think there's a definition that I want to open for discussion. I was looking on this definition on akal, on intellect, where our scholars have defined it to a few factors, a few discussion here. First is al-aql, nurun fil qalbi, ya'riful haqqi wal batil. That means a form of presence in the heart.
Can you translate that?
Yeah, a form of presence in the heart, where it is able to differentiate between the truth and falsehood.
Okay.
So I think that is another aspect where our scholars input in the meaning of aql. I mean, there's a lot of variation when it comes to aql.
You see, when it comes to aql, there are many definitions. There are many.
What was the reason? Was that there's so many definitions? Usually we got a consistent.
Yeah, because it is complex. To understand intellect, the human intellect, it is not easy. It is not something that we see as substance within us. Even our scholars differ where exactly is the intellect. Is it in the brain or in the heart? A lot of our scholars mention that it is in the heart, because the Quran when it speaks about aql, Allah said qulubuhum. Allah used the word qulub. Walahum qulubun la yafqahuna biha. They have hearts, but they do not understand with it. So some scholars and they mentioned that the intellect and the human intellect and it lies in the heart.
Very interesting,
that,
Ustaz.
that the mind and the process and the information. The mind and is one of the tools and of the intellect.
Afwan, Ustaz, very interesting when you said that the intellect is located. Most scholars mention that the intellect is located at the heart. It goes back to this next definition that actually I want to pose to Ustaz, because again, the definition of intellect, our scholars have various definitions that they put forth. So al-aql ma yu'aqalu bihi haqa'iqul ashya, qil mahalluhu ar-ra's wa qil mahalluhu al-qalb. So here our scholars go and define further so that we can understand about intellect here. Al-aql means things that you are able to process your thoughts, right? In order to define the truth in something. So in that particular things that you see or witness in front of you, you are able to define the truth. And our scholars have said that the place of intellect, it varies. So there's two opinion, where first is the brain, the head, right? And another one is the heart. So it's very interesting when you mentioned that. And I'm just elaborating on, because I prepared myself some notes to go into Hukum Akal today. So I think if you allow, maybe we can discuss further on this aspect.
Yeah, you see, when it comes to differentiation and what is truth and what is false, this thing and we have to understand within the framework of the Islamic theology. When we speak about the linguistic definition is one thing, but when we speak about the definition within the Islamic theology, it is a different thing, because we have to understand that there is a difference between the intellect and revelation.
Yes.
The intellect, at a certain extent, any human beings can use the intellect to understand the things around him. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the importance of using the human intellect.
Yeah.
In the Quran, the verse in which we always mention, inna fi khalqis samawati wal ardi wa ikhtilafil layli wan nahari la ayatin li ulil albab. That the creations of the heavens and the earth, these are signs for those who possess albab, the intellect. That they are able, how is human beings able to use the intellect to ponder upon the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but because from there, human beings is able to deduce the conclusion that there is a creator. That since the things around us are subjected to change, and it is contingent, and it has a beginning. So there must be a creator to this contingent world. So in that sense, the aql provide us the guidance in a sense that we are able to understand the relations between beings and between any created any beings, and we are able to deduce any certain conclusions. So the aql is basically it is a tool. It is not the source of revelation, in the sense that we say that it's able to understand the reality of truth, reality of falsehood. In reality, there are many things that the human intellect alone cannot understand.
Yes.
But what is important for us to take note is that our human intellect, and it is a tool to understand revelation. This is the madhab of the Ahlus Sunnah. Al-Ash'ira and Maturidiyya different from the Mu'tazila. Because the Mu'tazila, when they speak about al-aql, they say that aql is one of the sources in your revelation. That by the intellect you can determine rulings in Islam, determining what is haram and what is halal, for example. So these are so many of the things that we have to take note. The relationship between using our intellect, our rationality and intellectual capacity, and then comes the revelation. How are we able to use this intellect to understand revelation? So there is any disconnection between the connection between the two. So that is why it is important. And when we study any aqidah, we have to understand what is al-aql, what are the rulings of aql. So we have the ahkamul aql, that the intellect can deduce what is impossible. The intellect can deduce something that is impossible, something that is absolute. and something that is any possible. So in that sense, any the definition and just only you get that that the person and is able and to understand the truth and from the falsehood, and in that aspect that he is able and to understand what is absolute necessary, what is any impossible, and what are the possibilities. So al-aql in itself can understand those things, and this and he will lead him into faith. So Islam is telling us that you have to use your intellectual capacity properly and with the right methodology, and if you use it, it can lead you into faith in Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala.
But it by itself cannot give you ultimate truth, lah.
Yeah, by itself, it cannot give an ultimate truth, and because our intellectual and capacity are limited. It is limited.
I think for this aspect of intellect, Ustaz, I think so relatable to this current society, where a person might think for himself to be intellectual, right? Oh, I need to read a lot of books. I need to possess a PhD or degree, right? So if you possess certain set of skills, so he would deem himself as a very intellectual person and able to engage in intellectual conversation or topics. And this, I think, also worries me because there's no proper guideline out there. That means if you think that you are very intellectual in terms of speaking out, right, and you are able to like decipher even the text of religions, right? And I quote religions because they love to talk about various truth that is out there. So this, I think, is very, very dangerous in terms of their thought process, Ustaz. People nowadays, I'm just relating. Do you think that they need to have a proper guideline in how their intellect should have or operates, like with a proper thought process?
Yeah. You see, when actually when we say like someone who is an intellectual, we can understand that the aspect of the intellectuality that people nowadays are speaking of. Firstly, it lies a lot with logic. It lies a lot with logic and reasoning. So when you say a person is intellectual, this particular person, he knows how to argue and put forth in his arguments. He understands premises. He understands how to deduce any conclusions from premises. So linguistically, and when we say that this particular person and his speech, he is an intellectual and figure, he is a person who is an intellectual that is able to put forth in his evidences and so on and so forth. What we can understand is that this particular person has a strong foundation in understanding any logical arguments. So whenever he make his statement or he made his arguments are based on profound rulings within any logic. So this is the first thing. That a person he cannot be intellectual. What you call it? If he doesn't understand, for example, in logic, he doesn't understand what is an argument. He cannot differentiate between what is an argument and what is not an argument. What is a premise and what is not a premise. So for example, argument, you need premises. So if you say for example, all cats eat fish. This is not an argument. This is a statement. This is a statement.
The argument is that all cat eat fish. That's why the cat can fly. That is an argument. An irrational argument. Okay, sorry.
So an argument, and the first thing, there must be premise. And the second thing is that it must be related. It must be related, and in a sense that you can deduce the conclusion.
I see.
But if you speak for example, something that is not related, and then suddenly you deduce any conclusion out of nowhere, that is not an intellectual argument.
Yeah, there's no rational argument.
There is not any rational argument in that sense. So in philosophy, the logic is basically the foundation. The foundation of the intellectual discourse. So this is where it is important for Muslims to study mantiq And you find any our ulama, any for example, any they emphasize any mantiq any to be studied any before anything. They understand mantiq to be studied before anything. But the challenge any of learning any mantiq any is that it is tough and for especially for beginners. And if a child and for example who has reached any puberty and we tell him any to study any mantiq and this any the challenge. But the reason any why our scholars and it says that knowledge and your mantiq any is important so that any we can understand any arguments. We can differentiate any what is a false any arguments, what is a bad any reasoning, good reasoning, because all these things any have their strength.
I see.
For example, when you speak about arguments, what is the strength of the premises, and whether this is based any on conviction or not based on conviction, and then the conclusion and whether it is a sound based on sound reasoning or not, any based on sound any reasoning. And Islam any encourage us any to go into this. Islam any encourage us any to go to this. Islam any is not afraid. What you call it, that
confrontation,
that if you go into this intellectual and discourse, into this logical arguments, that you will go against any of the tenets in your faith. But it is the opposite. When you have mantiq, when you study any logic, and when you relate any to Islam, you will find that evidences any in Islam is both established any textually and rationally, and there is no contradiction any between textual evidence and rational evidence.
Yes.
Especially any in faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, any Islam is telling us any ya ulul albab, yani oh possessor any of intelligence, yani use any your intellect, use any whatever logical any arguments, sound any arguments any that you have, and look any at the Quran.
And it also helps you Ustaz, to be a person who does not do anything anyhow, right? If you have a logical process in your mind, you choose things like you have some sort of a like planning in that sense.
Yes,
you know?
and this is compulsory.
Yeah,
you
it's
see,
very
this is compulsory. Sorry, I just cut it. Sometimes I what you call I might any forget. And this is the thing that our scholars any mention, the first obligation.
MashaAllah.
The first obligation. You see, we cannot believe any in Islam based on taqlid. You see, in for example, in Jawhara, in Sheikh Ibrahim Laqani, in the beginning of Jawhara Tawheed, he speaks any about the issue of taqlid. And there are 7 opinions, 7 qawl pertaining to taqlid. Is a muqallid, the iman any of a muqallid any accepted? What is any a muqallid? Meaning like a person say that, why are you a Muslim? Or because my parents are Muslim. So he doesn't use any his intellect to look at evidences. To look at the evidences. This is a muqallid. So there are many scholars that mention that iman of a muqallid and is not accepted. Can you imagine?
Scary, man.
Iman and if a muqallid and is not accepted. What does it mean? Yani, if a person and he says that I'm a Muslim, but he doesn't know the evidences, he doesn't know the textual evidences nor the rational evidences on the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for example, on the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He doesn't know. He doesn't know what are the evidences any behind. Some scholars and he mentioned this kind of iman, just any saying any I'm a Muslim, it is not valid. But of course, the prevailing judgment in our madhab is that his iman is accepted, but he's sinful because he doesn't study the evidences. So believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one thing, and knowing the evidences behind this belief is another thing.
MashaAllah.
Yeah.
So it is wajib fardu ain upon every Muslim to study evidences behind every tenet in your faith. Evidences behind every tenet in your faith. Al-Imam Sanusi speaks about rational evidences. Says that it is compulsory upon every Muslim to learn the rational evidences behind every tenet in your faith. If he fail to do so, then he's sinful. This is what he mentioned in Barahin.
MashaAllah.
Barahin speaks about rational evidences. So he goes on to speak, for example, about the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is the rational evidences behind? He speaks about the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What are the rational evidences behind? We have the Burhanu Tamanu. What is the rational evidences behind believing Allah is one? And then Qiyamuhu bi nafsihi, Allah is not in need of
Any being.
A creator, mukhassis, and also mahal, a place where he na'udzubillah min zalik, and he recite and all these things. He bring about any rational evidences. So this is important to understand rational evidences. So Islam is telling us and use your intellect to understand the revelation. And you will find whatever that is mentioned in the revelation, the intellect is supported. Yani the rationality and he will support it. So what is any impossible rationally is impossible rationally. What is absolute truth and irrationally is absolute truth and irrationally. What is any possible and irrationally is possible and irrationally. So this is the beauty of Islam in reality.
MashaAllah.
So Islam is not afraid and is saying that don't you cannot mix rationality with faith. Faith and is another thing that is difficult for you to understand and all these things. That rationality cannot lead you into faith and you must just believe, even though it go against what you call it rationality in a sense that it is impossible for certain things that need to take place, but you just have to believe. Islam is not like that. But Islam challenges any human being to take up the challenge and to study the evidences that they will come to the conclusion that La ilaha illallah, that there is no God any but Allah with all the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is why Imam Sanusi in his books, he began with Ahkamul Aql. Yani before entering into sifat, the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
There is people nowadays, Ustaz, right, where they make such a statement. They said that I don't want to dwell into all this very deep knowledge because I don't possess that kind of intellect. I don't have the capacity to understand hukumul adi, hukumul aqli, and so on and so on. Especially where there's so much definition to understand, so many approach of terminologies that you need to memorize. So they claim, they make this statement maybe out of reasoning, stating that I think just take it as it is. The religion, just learn the basic lah.
But what is the basic?
The basic, like learn how to pray, learn how to fast, all this, the most basic, and that's it. And I believe that there's God. So these individuals, right, Ustaz, they claim that they just want an easy way out. Practicing they want to practice Islam to their best of ability, but their best of ability is just the basic. And their understanding of Islam also, they just want to understand Islam through the basic also.
I get what you mean. But then the problem is, right, I think they got a wrong definition of what is basic.
They say, no, the thing is, right. Their approach, like they say just now, Ustaz,
I understand what you mean.
that you have to learn the rational laws. That means like Allah wujud and kidam, baqa, and all that kind of attributes that Allah possess. We have to learn the rational side of it. But the thing, they don't want to dwell in that such immense effort for them to achieve that goal.
I think I get what you mean. But Ustaz, correct me if I'm wrong, Ustaz. Like there is a lot of evidence punya part where you study a lot of different rules and laws and stuff. But then from this also, there is the principles which everybody must have. I think that's what he did, but these people don't even go to the principles outside. Like,
actually, what we are saying, and when it comes to Ahkam al-Aql, this is the basic. This is the basic. We mentioned last time that the knowledge in Aqidah is the foundation of this religion. So if a person say that I just want basic only, I just want basic. The first knowledge which is obligatory upon him is Aqidah, Tawheed. To understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Before any understanding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is another foundation that is Ahkamul Aql. How are we able to differentiate what is impossible and what is possible and what is absolute and necessary?
It makes sense that because like if you don't even know this, who are you worshipping?
You'll be confused.
Who are you praying to?
The Quran speaks about these rational laws. You know sometimes some people, when you speak to them about rational laws, they thought that you are bringing in something new to the religion, that you are influenced by the Greeks, or because Aristotle also spoke about
rational laws.
This is not something new. The Greeks mentioned, for example, in the books of Aristotle, he mentioned also. You see, some people they go to the extent they thought that we Muslims we are influenced by the Greeks, that we dwell into this philosophy, and then suddenly we are telling people that you have to study these rational laws. But they do not know that actually our scholars deduce rational laws from the Quran.
MashaAllah.
the Quran speaks about absolute necessity. The Quran speaks about impossibilities, rational impossibilities. The Quran speaks about possibilities. So how can we say that by learning this thing that we are bringing in something out of Islam? By right, this is the basic when it comes to learning theology, Islamic theology. So we tell these people, if you want to learn the basics, this is the basics. You need to equip yourself with these definitions in order for you to study the knowledge of Aqidah properly, so that you do not become confused. And the knowledge of Aqidah is fardu ain. Knowledge of Aqidah is fardu ain. So this foundation it serves as the factor that brings about a person to understand this knowledge of Aqidah.
Correct. Yeah.
So I think there are some confusions that is occurring. People cannot differentiate what is basic. Like if a person say that I just want basic only, I don't think they understand what is the basic. If they demand that okay, I just want the basic, meaning the basic obligation, so that I can fulfill my responsibilities to study the knowledge that is compulsory upon me.
Yes.
Then he has to study knowledge of Aqidah.
Yeah.
When he study the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he must understand what is wajib aqli. Because all attributes of Allah are wajib, are absolute necessary. So he must understand definition and what is absolute necessary.
Correct.
So how can he understand the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
Who is Allah if they don't even know how to think properly?
If they do not know what is absolute necessary. Because not understanding these rulings will make things jumble up.
Yes, true.
You see, let me give you an example. Some people they cannot differentiate what is mustahil aqli and what is jaiz aqli. An example will be they ask this question. For example, he said that if God created everything, who created God? See, people can be confused in this situation. Why? Because they do not study ahkamul aql. They cannot differentiate what is mustahil aqli and jaiz aqli.
Yes.
So, if, for example, if God is created, then he cannot become God.
Yes.
So, the existence of God is absolute and necessary, meaning the existence of God does not accept any non-existence. So, if that is the case, when we speak about absolute necessary, then how come the question can come that God can be created? It is a contradictory. So the question is wrong.
Example Ustaz, is like can God create a stone that is too heavy for him to carry? Kind of question.
All these things, what you call it, all these things, and he shows that people cannot differentiate what is the mustahil and aqli, what is the impossibilities,
Yes.
and what is the possibilities. So how do we know this? When we go back into ahkamul aql. And today we are living in this situation. People are asking all these questions.
Correct,
People ask any questions and then in reality are not any questions. In reality are contradictions. But because any of the confusion that is occurring, it is important for Muslims to be equipped with certain tools, so that he will not be confused. Otherwise, a person say God is can do everything. It's all powerful. He also can create another God. So if we go into that direction, he makes shirk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now he's saying that there can be other gods other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Because he can do anything and everything, right?
So that will nullify his iman.
This is the most dangerous part, Ustaz. It affects a person's iman. And definitely when we talk about having this knowledge on hukum akali, right, the intellects law or the rational laws, it possesses a great advantage for a Muslim. At the same time, we have individuals out there in this current society, and I say it out here because it is something that is very apparent now. And these individuals, they make such claims where I want to engage in intellectual conversation where I want to, all these ones, I want to push the boundaries of that very conversation where they themselves doesn't possess this knowledge of rational laws. They themselves doesn't have the capacity in terms of dwelling into all these topics. But they have their ones, they have these nerves, right? They think that, oh, I'm intellectual enough to talk about this. I'm able to decipher what is the truth and what is false for people out there. I'm able to lead the community, right? Especially the community. I'm talking here because there are individuals who have great presence in the community. There are individuals who have influence towards the community. So their statement, Ustaz, will play a very vital role to shape those who are listening to them. So I think this is also another aspect where we have to be careful. I think there's some certain measures that we can input here that to limit oneself from going overboard with
I
this.
think what you're trying to say is that many people there are a lot of voices in the world, influencers who like giving their thoughts, their ideas, whatever it is. But if you do not have the necessary things which is the hukum akal that you have, you might be influenced. You might be influenced by these voices lah. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, they themselves are misleading people.
Yeah.
With their point of view.
Yeah.
Where it's not valid.
But these people are
great influencers.
Influenced by these people who don't have because they don't have the necessary equipment or tools to block themselves from these ideas. That's why they get influenced lah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they are great influencers. I'm referring to this group of individuals where they are great influencers.
Yeah.
They might be podcasters. They might be social influencers. They might be artists, actors, singers, and so on. So they themselves think, like this group that I mentioned, a part of them they might think that I'm intellectual enough. I want to push the boundaries of intellectual conversation.
I think this in our time of social media, right? Everyone is a philosopher if they are old.
Exactly.
Like Facebook gives you the opportunity to voice your, straight in front of your face. What's on your mind? So you post lah.
You just give them one mic. Just give them one mic, one headphone like this, and me and you just talk, and we can think, bro, we own this space, bro. We own this show. Whatever that we speak on this show is absolute. Is something that our listeners should agree with us. That kind of influence that they create, or that kind of persona that they create with us. And this is the world of podcasting, I think, which is unfiltered. And is uncensored, Ustaz. Where a lot of people are getting first-hand information where it's unfiltered. And for those who don't even know the basic of all this hukum, it can mislead them as a Muslim, especially.
So it's very important for us to learn lah this topic.
I think it's a protective tool for us.
Like for me, the most important part is because why I love this. I mean, this I feel it's so important is because more and more I realize people are using rational. They are saying that it's rational for you not to believe in God. This is this idea lah. They are pushing out in the public, and then this the atheist perspective, this all they are pushing that we are the most rational people.
Okay.
Therefore, you should believe in us lah. But I think when, like what Ustaz mentioning just now, like when you have the rational tools of how to decipher what is right and wrong, the end result will be inevitable. You have to believe in there's God.
Yeah.
It is no choice. Like your rationality will lead you to yes, there is a God. Like we don't need to talk about which God loves that. But for now, like your rational by itself can lead you to believe that you have to accept that is God. Did you say that, right? Yeah.
Existence of the Creator.
Yeah. So like how we what's happening in our world today is that there are so many kinds of arguments out there, Ustaz. Like so many so-called, like just now you mentioning, God is so powerful, he can create another God, or God can create a stone that is so heavy that he himself cannot carry. There's so many assumptions, about God in that. But the thing is, how we don't believe in the God that they believe in, So how do we put these rational laws that we are learning, Ustaz, is to give us the tools to make sure that we are not, that the God that we believe in is not a imagination of our mind, but is properly laid down, that it will give you the full how to say, like you, because if you understand rationality properly in the laws, you will have the best capacity to know Allah. Would you agree to that?
Yes. Okay, first thing I think we miss something, I think, because before this we were speaking about the empirical laws, and now today we are speaking about rational laws. we need to understand the difference between the empirical laws and the rational laws.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
So
also
maybe
true.
I just touch this for a while, then we go back to
Okay.
you mentioned earlier that that it can lead what if human beings think rationally, it can lead him to the belief in Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Okay, pertaining to the difference, we so far we cover ahkam syar'i,
Yes.
the Sharia law in our first few sessions.
Yeah.
And then we spoke about empirical laws.
Yeah.
And we mentioned that empirical laws is based on repetition.
Yeah.
That you are establishing a particular thing in relation to another thing based on repetition and experimentation.
Yeah.
So we talk about the scientific discoveries and all these things. When it comes into the rational law, we are ascribing a particular thing to another thing without any depending on repetition. Meaning there are things that are established rationally, and even though you do not observe, but you can understand. You can understand it rationally. A simple example with mathematics. Mathematics, and for example, 3 plus 3 is always 6.
Yeah.
So I don't need to put any 3 balls in front of me to say, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But this can be understood rationally. So it is not dependent on repetition, but it is understood by the intellect. This is the meaning of ahkamul aql. So we have to make the differentiation between something that is established empirically and something that is established rationally. There is any difference. Empirical laws, as what we mentioned, can change. Can change. We gave the example of fire. Fire can become cold.
Yes.
But people say this is impossible, and how can fire become cold? We say that fire is a creation. And the creator decide the properties of the fire.
Yes.
So we human beings, when we do experimentation, we are just dealing with the properties which Allah has created. But it is not impossible for fire that to constantly burning and having combustion suddenly become cold. This is what happened to Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam. The Quran mentioned about this. Empirical laws can change in that sense, but rational laws cannot change. This is the difference.
Yes.
Because if you say rational laws can change, our ulama mentioned lan qalab al haqa'iq, all realities will jumble up. Just like any people saying who created God, all these things. Meaning they do not understand any rational laws. When we say something that is impossible rationally, it means that it cannot exist. It cannot exist. For example, if I say something is moving and not moving at the same time, impossible, correct? There is no possibility that this can be true. Something is either moving or not moving.
Yes.
It cannot be moving at the same time not moving. Something is either in existence or non-existence. It cannot be both. I cannot be saying, for example, I am in existence and not existence at the same time. This is sophistry. This has entered into sophistry. Because the sophists say everything can. They do not make any differentiation, and they do not believe in realities. The definition that you gave, yuqalul haqa'iqul ashya, that the intellect is used, is something that is given by Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, that we are able to differentiate the reality of things.
Yes.
Because otherwise we will jumble things up. So the fault of some people is that they jumble empirical and rational. So they are looking at the rational laws, but they are applying the empirical laws in the rational laws. So when we say something that is absolute necessary rationally, if a person doesn't understand this, he will say, but it is also possible also if this thing does not happen. We say, for example, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala wajibul wujud. The existence of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is absolute necessary. This within ahkamul aql. But if a person say, but there is a possibility that he is not in existence, it means he doesn't understand what we are talking about.
Yes.
When we say wajib aqli, absolute necessary rationally, it is something that cannot change. Meaning it cannot become possible. What is necessary cannot become possible. What is possible cannot become necessary. What is necessary cannot be impossible, and what is impossible cannot be possible. So it cannot intertwine. Because otherwise any realities will be jumbled up. So this is the thing. we have to differentiate between empirical laws and the rational laws. And then pertaining to what you mentioned, can rational laws and it will lead a person to believe in God, to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to believe in the attributes. Yes, you find for example, Imam Sanusi is a good example, and his books are designed like that. He is like guiding you as though like he is speaking to a person initially who doesn't believe in God.
MashaAllah.
His rhetoric is like that.
Yeah.
So he put things in sequence. So number one, and you have to believe in the existence of God. That's why we find in the 20 attributes, the first is al-wujud. Because the first thing is to understand the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah.
Existence of God. So once we have established the existence of God, and we speak about the creations, so we say that God must be powerful. God must possess omnipotence, because otherwise how can this universe come into existence?
Yeah.
Then we speak about the attribute of Qudra. And then we look at these creations, and these creations are created perfectly, in perfection. So there must be ilm, the attribute of knowledge.
Yeah.
And then all these things come into existence, and it has a beginning. There must be a will, because to determine at which point this universe will be in existence. So it lead us believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and believing in the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also believing on the impossibilities that cannot be ascribed to God.
Yes.
For example, God cannot be more than one. This is when you speak about wahdaniyah. Because God more than one, is what the Quran said. La fasadata, yani you will not see any perfection in the heavens and in the earth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because there will be a clash of powers.
Yeah.
This God want to create something, another God want to create another thing, or this God want to create something, another God does not agree.
Yeah.
So things cannot happen, and they can fight.
Yeah. Correct.
Because
Because
there
there
be
be
clash of
division,
powers.
Ustaz.
Yeah.
There be
Clash of
division
powers.
in religion.
that is why in the Quran, and when Allah speaks about law kana fihima alihatun illallah, if there are other gods other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, la fasadata.
Yes.
You will not
MashaAllah.
see harmony in the universe.
Yeah.
Because gods will will fight for their power. They all of them has qudra, has
Yeah.
omnipotence. They will they when they disagree, for example, there will be chaos. But if they agree to create something, then all of them cannot become God, because they are relying on one another. These are rational evidences. Likewise, we say that God cannot be in need. It is impossible. And for example, God who created this universe, and all knowing, all willing, and He is one. But at the same time, He is in need of something that He created.
Yes.
This is impossible aqli. This cannot exist.
Yeah.
So all of the attributes, and we can speak about wujud, qidam, baqa. God cannot have a beginning. If He's a beginning, then He's a creation. He cannot have an ending. If He's an ending, then He cannot become God, because He is wajibul wujud, God, and He has to be an absolute
Presence.
necessary in His existence. We can speak about wahdaniyah, as what we mentioned, buhanu tamanu. And then we speak about that Allah qiyamuhu binafsi, He's not in need of other than Him. So all these attributes come. So if you look at the 20 attributes, it is in sequence.
Yes.
So you believe in the existence of God, then this God must not have a beginning.
Next.
Must not have an ending.
Yeah.
Must be one.
Yeah.
Cannot be two.
Yeah.
And then
Mukhalafatuhu.
mukhalafatul hawadis. Yani he cannot have similarity to the creations.
Yes.
Anything that has similarity to the creations follow the rulings of the creation.
Yes.
So we say God is dissimilar to his creation.
Laisa kamithlihi shay'. Is that?
The Quran mentioned laisa kamithlihi shay' wa huwa samiul basir. Qul huwallahu ahad, and mentioned wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. These are textual and rational evidences. Al-Imam Sanusi, Mubarak speak about the rational aspect. Why God cannot be similar to His creation. If God is similar to His creation, then He is like the creation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then He is like the creation. Then He cannot become God. So this is what you call it the rational evidence. Other than the evidence, of course, the Quran speaks about this rational evidence also. So it leads to the attributes one by one.
Yeah.
So all the sifat salbiyah, wahdaniyah, and all, the 5 in salbiyah, and then sifat al-ma'ani.
Yes.
That God is all powerful, all knowing, all willing, and He is mutakallim, He possesses any kalam, because He gives any revelation to prophets and messengers. Prophets and messengers, and He receive any revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yes.
How is that? Does that happen? By al-kalam, by the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through any revelation and so on and so forth.
The important thing here, Ustaz, I think for those listening and for those viewing, I think you all have to understand and approach this in a manner where our religion permits and our religion encourage you, right? No doubt there's a lot of opinions out there in this society, in this be it in the Western society or the Eastern society, where opinions are out there stating about intellects. But I think it's very important to go back to what our traditional scholars have laid out on what is intellect is all about. I think that is very important, Ustaz.
Yeah, because some people, as what you mentioned, they claim that they are the intellectuals, and for example, and then they question, for example, the Islamic any tenets, or some of them doesn't believe in the existence of God, and use the word rationality also. That is because of my rationality and the conclusion that I
It's
have
way
come.
better than them.
What you call it? Doesn't confine me to believe in an entity, divine entity in God, and to understand the attributes of God. But in reality, if a person mention that God does not exist, this is against any rationality.
Yes.
So now when we go back to Ahkam al-Aql, let me give you an example. People out there, for example, they say that this universe has a beginning. They got no problem with that. This universe has a beginning. But then they do not believe in the creator. So it's like believing in something that is a creation without a creator. That itself is mustahil aqlan. Rationally, it is impossible.
Yeah.
But people believe
In such manner lah.
people say it's possible.
Yeah.
So this where we mentioned that ahkamul aql, it cannot change. You
Yeah.
cannot say something that is impossible to be possible.
Yeah.
So if you follow any rationality, you will make the conclusion that if there is a creation, there must be a creator.
Yeah.
So when we look at this universe, we say this universe is jaizul wujud, and it is its existence and it's possible because why? Because it is preceded by non-existence. It is preceded by non-existence. So again, to prove the existence and you have got an negation, actually it's easy. It is not something that is difficult. But it is the nafs of human beings, and for example, he doesn't want to be binded by by any religion. He wants any so-called to be freedom and all these things.
Yes.
So they come out with certain theories, but in reality, if you were to analyze any of those theories, and you will find that is against any rationality. That is not about being rational or intellectual, but it is against. And then we also have to understand that every tenet of faith within Islam are based on solid evidences, absolute necessary.
Yes.
For example, and later on when we enter into Aqidah, into the attributes, we say all the attributes of Allah are absolute necessary. Absolute necessary. And the evidences are based on yaqeen. Not zon, not any speculation or anything. The evidences in Aqidah, all of it is based on yaqeen. This is the definition of Aqidah when we speak about ala al-adillati al-yaqiniyah. It is based on dalil that is yaqini. So as a Muslim, when we look into our religion and when we study our religion properly with the right methodology, again, it is about the right methodology.
Yes.
With the right methodology, you will be amazed. You will find that every tenet in your faith are based on profound evidences. Evidences that do not have any doubt. Evidences that is based on yaqeen. So how do we know this? We have to study. But the problem is not a lot of people do not want to study.
Yes.
And also
a lot of people, they want just relax, happy.
Talking about this, Ustaz. Since we are on the topic of study, right? If you allow me, I want to relate a topic here where definitely when we want to, if we want to believe that a person is intellectual, definitely pre-process to reaching being intellectual, you must possess knowledge. Knowledge is a form where it will lead a person to be intellectual. But the problem with our society today, they extract out knowledge, they input informations only, or theories, or things that they hear, things that is not definite, right? And they come into conclusion, these are the things that I want to talk intellectually. So this is a problem in our society now, where they don't value knowledge. the knowledge is being put aside, and they want to talk about theories that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you
Ustaz.
see, what I feel is that Muslims, we should learn how to appreciate our tradition. And I think the problem is that when we don't seek any knowledge, the proper knowledge, the proper any methodology, we will be caught up with a lot of ideologies
Confusion.
and theories and so on and so forth.
I think the main problem is that, sorry, what reason why I think it will help you, to help the discussion. I think because everyone, like what he was trying to mention just now, is everyone has their own opinion, and this is the problem of postmodernism. Like everyone has their own version of truth. Like their goalposts, like they don't believe in absolute truth, like don't believe in that thing that is certainty.
Yeah.
But then they have so many, that's your opinion, But the problem is when the person say your opinion, they have changed the goalpost. The goalpost is different already, So like this kind of people, most of these people, I think,
Yes.
Indra, like
Yes.
what I get from your discussion is that they don't even believe in absolute truth, objective truth. And then maybe Ustaz, you can share what is objective truth and what is like, this, why is it so important? Because if a person does not believe in absolute truth or objective truth, there's no way we can discuss with them, Ustaz.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way, like they will have their own theories. They can follow rational laws, but they don't have a standard of...
No, they don't follow the rational laws.
Yeah.
They don't follow the rational laws because this is the thing about sophistry,
Yeah.
about sophistry, is that they do not believe in any reality.
Yeah.
So if you do not believe in any reality, you will jumble up any ahkam al-aql.
Yeah.
You tell him this is impossible, you say, but it's possible. You tell him 2 + 2 is equals to 4, but
In your
possible
opinion, lah.
3.
In your opinion.
Possible it is 3. We do not know any for sure. This is qalbul haqa'iq. This is the our scholars
The
any
heart of
term this
reality,
as qalbul haqa'iq,
Yeah.
meaning you jumble up any realities.
Yeah.
We say, for example, something must either be in existence or non-existence. It cannot happen both at the same time.
Yeah.
This is mustahil aqli. But you tell him this and he say, but to me it's jais aqli. Possible. And possible is very dangerous.
Yeah.
What you call it? We say that God cannot have a beginning. Say, but possible and God have a beginning.
Yeah.
If God has a beginning and what happened?
Yeah.
Then he is also a creation.
Yeah.
Yes.
So these people basically they reject the absolute truth.
Yeah.
They reject the laws of the rational laws,
Yeah.
and even the empirical laws.
Yeah.
They are questioning everything.
Everything.
They are questioning everything. So at the end of the day, it brings misguidance.
Yeah. Doubt and
Yeah,
unnecessary.
it brings about any misguidance until they have doubt on their existence,
Yeah.
whether they are in existence and they are not in existence. They are doubtful even in that.
That's why it's so important, Ustaz, for us to learn all these laws.
Yeah.
So whenever we listen or hear, because we cannot control the internet. I mean, we
Yeah.
cannot control whatever's
Yeah.
going online. We watch movies, there are songs that you probably hear accidentally. You cannot stop these ideas from coming in.
Yes.
That's why we need to learn this. So our so-called the rational laws.
Yeah.
So that we can have a defense mechanism, Ustaz.
Yeah. So the Greeks, for example, and Socrates, he was dealing with sophists last time, during his time, and this is before Aristotle.
Yeah.
So one of the reason, and he speaks about rationality, because he found out there are these sophists who are living in Athens, in Greece,
Yeah.
that they are jumbling up realities. So he decided to counter them,
Yeah.
which at the end lead into his death. Because Socrates was killed. It was his student Plato was the one who revived in his works. But the problem during that time is dealing with these people. That these people are rejecting absolute truth, rejecting what you call it realities. What you call it, saying any impossibilities can be possible, possible can be impossible, absolute truth can be possible and can also be impossible. So Islam came and Islam mentioned we have to define things, and we have to put things into perspective. So Islam doesn't reject everything that the Greeks bring.
Yeah.
But Islam mentioned, since this is mentioned in the Quran,
Yeah.
it's mentioned by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we take what is good.
Yeah.
There are also bad things,
Yeah.
that
that they
because the Greeks also believe in many gods. Kan?
yeah.
Yeah.
So that one and we have to
Exclude.
we have to exclude. But the thing is this, it is important for us to when we engage in conversation with others, there are the common terms. The rational laws is a good common term. The rational laws is a good common term. And then we have the empirical laws. And then we have the realities. For example, we are in existence.
Yeah.
We are in existence. This room is in existence. This is a microphone. This is a handphone. So this is the reality. This is what Imam Nasafi began Aqaid Nasafiyah. He said, Haqa'iqul ashya' thabitatun. The reality of things are established. And wal ilmu biha mutahaqqiqun. And the knowledge pertaining to these things are also established. Khilafan li sufusta'iyah. Different than the Sufis. So when we speak about realities, the things around us, we establish those realities.
Yeah.
We are human beings and we are not horses.
Yeah.
Correct or not?
Yeah.
But if a person say, but I think I'm a horse,
Yeah.
we say, what you call it, this is not correct.
Yeah.
And you are changing a reality.
Yeah.
You are bringing something that is false.
Yeah.
Tamam. Likewise, that's what we mentioned in our last lesson. A person thinks that he's a female, but actually he's a
male.
He is a male. So the thing is, we have to establish these realities first, and then we put things into perspective. And when comes into the rational laws, this will lead us to the truth.
Correct. Yeah.
MashaAllah.
Otherwise, human beings can think whatever they want, can be influenced by whatever ideologies they want. But at the end of the day, what Islam is calling all humans to go back into the intellect. Let us go return to our fitrah. Return into our intellect. These are the intellectual laws, the rational laws. These are the empirical laws. Okay, now we speak about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the existence of God, the attributes of God. So if human beings follow this path, they will be guided inshallah.
MashaAllah. I think Ustaz, for this topic on rational laws, definitely there's a lot more for us to
This is like the
cover.
consistent things we've been saying. Like after every lesson we start for a new one, this time got some more. But
that's the beauty. That's the beauty of this kind of discussion in a podcast format. You see. No doubt in a lesson, yes, you can be you can be writing down all the details and the terms that Al-Fadhil Ustaz have laid out. But the thing about having this in a podcast format, it widens the further. And that's the beauty. I think we have this blessed opportunity
very blessed
to sit down with Al-Fadhil Ustaz and to discuss on various and this is the part where I personally think not we are pushing boundaries, we are going into territories where people constantly ask.
And they don't experience this thing, like having this opportunity to have a conversation with Ustaz like this. Usually doesn't happen commonly.
True.
Like
so
this gives the opportunity for listeners to also probably they have the same thinking process as us,
Correct.
to have the idea.
And for this topic, I believe on hukum akli, I think more to discuss maybe.
We haven't spoken on the definition. What is wajib akli? What is mustahil?
So inshallah we will bring
The introduction.
Today is just introduction, I guess. The
Introduction.
definition we have not say debate. We discuss on the definition itself, the various definition itself.
Maybe I just cover fast for the benefit and everybody. Otherwise, and you'll be thinking, what is
But I think we can bring forward, Ustaz. We can bring forward to our next episode. Maybe as a closure, you can highlight to them what it will be covered next.
Stay tuned for the next episode. Ustaz, can you please give us the definition?
The closure. The closure. Yeah, mashallah. So inshallah we will cover on the wajibul akli and the mustahil akli on the next episode. And I think brace yourself, right? For the viewers and listeners out there.
So make it as easy.
Brace yourself, right? We will.
It's not difficult lah, Indra. Don't say it's not difficult lah. It's not difficult. Ustaz make it as easy and easy
I know.
for me
I'm
to
just
understand.
creating drama here, bro.
I see.
Actually, it's not difficult. the thing and it's not difficult, but sometimes we just need to put in effort and time
Yes.
for us and to be patient. Because learning knowledge we need to be patient. We cannot be expecting for example we can understand everything in one night.
Yes, correct.
So there is the process. So this is our hope, inshallah, that I hope that viewers or those who are listening, especially in the knowledge in Aqidah, there must be the right methodology.
Yes, true.
So this is important. Otherwise, you can be thinking and you are seeking knowledge for 10 years, but there is nothing much because you do not touch on the foundations.
Yes.
You do not build any foundations, but you are concentrating on other things. So that is why methodology is important.
I just want to just to wrap up before we have a closure here. For those listeners and viewers out there, and who really intend to further your search or your quest in learning Aqidah, you can browse through the YouTube channel of Masjid Khalid and also the Facebook channel of Masjid Khalid, where Al-Fadhil Ustaz have loads of content on the learning of Aqidah from the basic books to the more advanced books. So please feel free. Right, I will definitely include the link on our video description below. Thank you so much. So I would like to thank Al-Fadhil Ustaz for coming down and giving your guidance.
Jazakumullah khair. I'd like to thank all of you
MashaAllah,
for having this good discussion.
MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah.
Just tell you, Ustaz, I caught a 7 kilo fish
MashaAllah.
3 days ago. Later I show you a picture.
Rationally,
it was very irrational.
Is that a real fish?
Real fish. It was a real fish.
Rationally is possible.
Rationally is possible.
In Singapore waters.
MashaAllah.
Rationally
Not
it was almost impossible.
Almost possible. You must prove it to the viewers, bro. Yeah.
You will see a clip. No.
A picture at least. Okay, inshallah. So signing off from Coffee Ustaz, I'm your host Indra Sahip.
I'm Mubarak Shah. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much. Inshallah, see you soon.
Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum.